Quotes. You have IMDb. You have failed me once again. Shame on you. Maybe wiki quote is nicer. Oh yes, we got more here to work with. Oh, by the way, guys, hi.
Hola. What's going on, guys?
We'll be starting our episode reviewing Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15 soon. We're just doing some finishing touches, and I'm actually working on a Tangled episode at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm almost done, but
a bunch of multitasking going on here.
Yeah, we're not ignoring you, people. Trust us. We will
No.
get to you soon.
Yes. We just want to
I just realized I forgot something else.
Ruh-roh.
In terms of lighting, most people won't notice it, but it bugs me.
Ah.
I like accent lighting.
As Drew steps off stage, steps out of studio for a second, or the area which is
accent lighting.
Okay, accent lighting. Okay,
lines, whatever you want to call it, makes us less in the dark.
Gotcha. That's always good.
And it allows the shadow of Voltron to hit the wall. Okay, what do we?
Yeah, it's not saying we've gone live on Facebook yet.
Thought it said it was going. Says it's my end says it's good.
Interesting.
Didn't say anyone's in, but Twitch just told me I can get to mobile live dashboard, so it's at least live somewhere. The Cellcast podcast is live now on Facebook.
Excellent. Okay.
So I guess we're good.
Weird.
Awesome sauce. Okay. Back to figuring out a subtitle. That's it. I'm just making a triple joke because none of these are actually leading to anything.
You're making a triple joke. Okay.
Those umlaut things are essentially triples.
You're right.
In fact, I already know what I'm calling it. Just go back to the save. The trouble with umlauts. Saving project data files. Export as MP3. Save. Okay. Artist name. The Cellcast. Track title. TAS. Tangled. The series. Type. No, not yet. The Way of the Willow. Now do a pipe. The trouble with umlaut. You spell this AUMLAUT. UMLAUT. Plural, put an S. That's there. And okay. Exporting the audio with standard presets. I am almost done. Well, it's good to know we liked ourselves.
Yep.
I'm showing 3 people on Facebook at the moment, but no one on Twitch or YouTube. Now 4 on Facebook.
Good.
Awesome sauce. Did that finish? Looks like it finished. Now I can go to here. Here. Bump, bump, bump. Bump, 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 bump. Bump, 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 bump. That recaptcha was not there a second ago, you stupid thing. It says you didn't put it in right. Well, it wasn't there. I couldn't have put it in. You silly thing. Episode list. New episode. Year. Saved that to the wrong thing again. That's fine. I knew where it was. I want that one. Just a couple more episodes, and then I get to switch. TAS. Tangled the series. The way of the well. Hype. But what is the queen's name? I don't remember her name. Ariana. Ariana. Doesn't matter. It's text. I know how to spell.
Are you talking the? Because the what is it, the princess name?
Rapunzel?
Never mind. I thought you were talking about Kingsglaive.
No, I'm not talking about Luna Freya.
Luna Freya.
As far as I know, the queen that would be King Regis's wife is not in this movie.
Yeah, guys, we will be reviewing this little movie right here in a couple of minutes. There we go. We're still doing. Drew is doing.
I'm making tribble jokes, is what I'm doing.
Of course. And I'm doing final preps on news, and so we'll be getting started in shortly.
No, what I'm doing is I'm doing the publishing for our last Tangled series animated series TAS episode is what I'm getting put out because I did not do it yesterday, so now I'm doing it today. And this is the one that has all the little creatures that, let's face it, they're tribbles.
That is true.
So I'm making tribble jokes all throughout the episode description. Now I need to go copy and paste the last bit out of the I'm going to actually have to write this down. I don't have to keep going to the website and copying out of the last episode description. And season 3, episode 22. Publish now. All right, in about 15 to 30 minutes, you should be able to download that episode I just published.
Yay.
Now I get to close all these windows and then get set up for this episode. Which won't take long.
One would hope.
Check, 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 check. I am quiet today. No wonder y'all can't hear me. Check, 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 check. Can y'all hear this? This is looking good. Okay.
Can you hear me now? What's up, Doc?
Andale, arriba. Keep talking if you would.
What's up going on, people?
There we go. I think we're good now. I think the peoples can hear us.
Good.
So now we're just waiting on you.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, there's a ton of news about the new Space Jam movie. Let's say that. Like, I'm pulling from different sources this time. Be like, I'm going Insider. I'm doing Entertainment Weekly. Just like Yahoo News. Yeah, right now I'm trying to find the one you were mentioning a couple of minutes ago, but I can't find any source on it.
Not the B.
Huh?
I read it on Not the B.
Not the B. Hold on.
I wasn't sure if we were going to jump into that much kind of news, but sure, that'll work.
Well, it's animation news, and it's referring to stuff going in animation.
Yeah,
so it is
does
relevant.
affect Space Jam.
It does affect Space Jam. Oh, okay. Here we go. Yep, found it. It'll stop moving. Come on, move. Move. No. Do what I say. No, I didn't. All right, I think that's it when it comes to info and stuff, because there's just
there's a ton probably today. There's my notes. You realize that by the time we got to where people could actually see us roll the dice, we quit rolling the dice.
Pretty much.
I just thought of that.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Now they're just here in honor of their past work.
Yeah, exactly.
You're on Stitch.
I don't think you can throw them at this point. There we
I
go.
ain't throwing them anywhere near Voltron. I don't want to have to clean that up.
That's a lot of key later to pick up.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're ready to go.
All righty. How am I introducing you?
Yeah, with this movie,
Oh, this is a toughie.
that's kind of poignant. It is a video game.
Let's use the right controller.
Okay, then. If you want to be
Oh.
technical.
We'll put the light on.
Yeah, then it's going to blind the camera and be like, we
That's
can't
not
see
what-
anything.
Look, it's nice and blue.
Oh, okay.
I need to. I wish I could get it to where it was the actual. It was the green of our thing, but
You're
that's too
right.
much work.
Right.
Uh, introducing you. Okay, I know how I'm introducing you.
All right. Let's do it.
All right. Starting in.
I didn't say anything.
No, you want to know what happened?
What?
I was 5 seconds away from saying the following.
I knew that. I was like, wait a minute. What's going on here?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people. Try that again. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who's just got done fighting a giant octopus, Jacob.
Man, that's a lot of arms. And
Yes, but with enough ketchup, it would be good eating.
maybe if it's fried. Maybe.
Yes, fried Ultros. That's what we want. Yes,
Oh.
I know the name of the octopus monster. So what?
Of course. You did put this movie on this list after all.
More on that in a minute.
Exactly. Why, thank you. Yeah. Now
Mark
I'm messing up.
Max.
Why, thank you. I think. Let me introduce our co-host, a man who da da da. Oh man, I love it when I have it in my head. Oh yeah, here we go. All right,
All right.
take two. All right. Why, thank you. I think. Let me introduce our co-host, a man who just got stuck on princess duty. Welcome, Drew.
You know, there are worse things.
That is true. You could be guarding the toilet.
Okay, that works for me.
Hey, they used to actually do that in medieval times.
I know. This ain't medieval times,
That
thankfully.
is true.
This place at least looks like it has modern plumbing.
Thank you. They have cars.
Yes, they have cars. How are you doing today, Jacob?
It's pretty good. Pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. It was a long day, but fruitful.
Good.
So what have you been watching this week?
Oh, good night. What have I not been watching all week?
Oh, have you been busy with the old television? And perhaps the movie theater?
Yeah, just a little bit. Let's see. Well, we watched a certain movie that just recently came out called
Yes.
Raya and the Last Dragon, which
Raya and the Last Dragon, yeah.
is Raya.
Anna.
Yeah. This is going to be a theme.
That
here.
is what we were trying to think what that was the other day.
we were.
No, you couldn't get right. I remember now. It is Raya and Raya.
Yeah, it's Raya. Raya and the Last Dragon from
Yes.
Disney. Amazing film. Go watch it.
Yes, it is. And then go listen to our reactions episode that
Yes.
we released on Sunday.
Exactly. That was a lot of fun. What else? What else have I been watching? I am drawing a blank.
A blank?
A blank.
You can't think of anything else you watched?
Not off the top
I
of
mean,
my
I know you didn't get to Bible study before we got started with Bible study, so you didn't watch that episode of what is it that Chase got us to watch while we waited on, we watched something and I can't think of what it is.
Well, either way, be like, I think the only thing I've watched is Raya and the Last Dragon and this.
All right, because I can't think of what that thing is. So I watched something animated. I can't tell you what it is.
Yeah.
That was over at Chase's, but I also have been watching a little bit of Tenchi Universe.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that last week too, but I've watched a little bit more of it. Of course, we both finished watching WandaVision.
Yes.
That is what you watched all last week.
Yes, it was. Why did I forget that? It's an amazing show.
I don't know why you forgot it.
Yeah. Well, it's more like a temporary blank, when
it was edited out.
Yeah. But not really. How could I forget such an amazing series or season?
Yeah, I think it was the whole series, but yeah.
Whole series, season, whichever. Because I don't think they could do a season 2.
No. Well, I mean, they're not to spoil anything. Could do something. It will depend on how Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness comes out.
Yeah, allegedly.
Next year.
Either way, that's about all I can watch. All I can say I've watched. I did definitely with WandaVision, go see it. Gonna be like, no spoilers. Be like, just go see it, go watch it. It's on Disney Plus right now if you're subscribed to that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you'll enjoy it.
More likely.
More likely. And a good advice Drew gave when watching this show. Think of it the Twilight Zone, because it's not what you think.
The way Marvel sold WandaVision was it was the Marvel sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what the show is.
No, absolutely not.
But, saying anything more than that will spoil it. So,
agreed.
Let's move on to the next thing. Other things that I have been watching. Not a whole lot more, actually. After I gave you such a hard time. Although we did start watching more of Tangled the series, or Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, by where we're at.
That is so true, because they changed it on Disney Plus.
It is changed on Disney Plus.
Finally, we're back in season 2.
We are what 20 episodes ahead of what we've put out so far.
Yeah, so far.
So yeah. So we're enjoying what we're watching so far, and we can't wait for you to hear those episodes.
Yeah, they'll be coming out in like a couple of months.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
We're trying to stay ahead so that we don't ever have to get in a rush.
Yeah, because we remember that like the first year.
Oh, good night. I'm still thinking back to January.
Oh,
we were having to put 5 episodes out a week. To get caught up on Thundercats before Tangled started. Because we had time Tangled for the beginning of February because of other things we had set in place.
Yes.
So yeah.
All right. So the only thing else that I would like to talk about really quickly is another podcast that I know that you listen to and I listen to. It's very good, very informative. Mic'd Up.
Yes.
Mic'd Up with Dr. Mike Miller and Kobe Durham. That is our pastor and youth pastor at Central Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Texas. They do a podcast. Comes out probably maybe like once a month or one. Well, between COVID and
Snowvid, it was a little rough there for a bit.
It was a little bit.
I think on average, since they started it back in April?
Yeah. It's
like once every 2 weeks on average.
Yeah, something like that. But either way, if you're looking for a really good, as their tagline is, be like, we're having the conversations you're having.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all from a strong Christian theological standpoint about family, about life, about immigration, about race,
about all the topics that people talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Currently, people talking about. So, if you are interested in that podcast, they are available on
anywhere, pretty much
anywhere. Be like your favorite podcast platforms. Go check them out. Go give them some love.
If you found us, you can find them.
Yeah, very easily. So go give them some love. Give them listen, and yeah, it's very insightful. Very, very insightful. So yeah, just want to give them a shout out.
All righty. So, what do we got in the news?
All right. Well, actually, I have a bit of news.
Tell me about it.
All right. Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah. So let me get to my notes because my notes are just blah today. All right. Show. All right. In the news. All right. So coming in from the box office from this past weekend, Raya and the Last Dragon. Raya. Now you're gonna get me confused.
It's Raya.
Yeah. Raya. That's true. Raya. I was became Raya. Raya in the Last Dragon got somewhat of a lukewarm welcome in the global box office.
I will blame the fact that a lot of America watched it on Disney Plus for that.
That is true. As of right now, it debuted in theaters March 5th, which was this previous weekend in theaters on Disney Plus premium access at $30 rental rate. Now, if you are like a single guy like me and Drew,
it doesn't make much sense to spend $30 on Disney Plus.
No, but if you're
watching on Disney Plus, because that's ridiculous.
But if you're a family of 3 or 4 or whatever, 9,
I'd say on average 3 is about where it starts to make sense.
Yeah. Financially, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But other than that,
or if you're going to watch it multiple times.
Exactly.
Which, as much as I like Raya, I can wait for my next viewing when it's the same price as the rest of Disney Plus.
Okay. All right.
What, 3 months?
All right. So it has gotten very favorable reviews. It has received a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Domestically, the film earned $8.6 million in 2,445,000 theaters over the weekend. That's 41% over Tom and Jerry's $14.1 million for Warner Brothers.
Well, I mean, it was a much better movie than Tom and Jerry.
Agreed. Go check out our
reactions on that movie.
Yeah, we're doing a lot more reactions now. Thankfully, the
now
theaters
that we can go to a theater.
Yes, thank you.
Now that the movies are coming out.
All right, and
they're movies we want to see.
And to follow that up, it's less than 9.7 million. The third day takeout of DreamWorks sequel, Croon's The New Age,
which I still haven't watched yet.
Yeah, it's now sitting at $157.7 million globally.
Okay,
that's what the film is. All right, so get into a little bit of, I don't know how you let's just get into Space Jam. Let's get into Space Jam movies.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit awkward, folks, because normally we like to stay away from politics because, quite frankly, we hate politics.
That is true.
But politics has intervened on our lives once again.
Yeah.
Due to a certain skunk.
Yeah, to a certain skunk. All right. So, 25 years after starring along Michael Jordan in the original Space Jam, if you haven't seen it, we did a review over with our good friend Aaron Lowe from
Banter.
Thank you. And you can go check that out. So apparently the news why can't I talk?
You get tongue tied.
Yes,
happens.
I agreed. So the new Looney Tunes Space Jam movie, which is starring LeBron James, will be missing a certain character, aka Pepe Le Pew. He will not be featured in the upcoming film, set in the theaters July 16th. The fact of the controversial character, who was first appeared in 1945, seems to be retired from the Looney Tunes canon. The studio has no plans to feature Pepe Le Pew in any of the features in the Looney Tunes series currently streaming on HBO Max. Increasingly, Pepe Le Pew he was like he's been scrapped over. Apparently, the skunk was scrapped from the Space Jam sequel over a year ago, but the news came to light amongst the rampant of pop culture New Year'sism. Let's see. It has a whole lot to do with cancel culture.
There's a lot of cancel culture involved. Now,
Yeah.
let's be honest. Pepe Le Pew is a bit creepy.
That is true. He does have a tendency.
That is the entire point of his character.
That is true. Be like when your entire point is to hit on every skunk. I mean, cat.
A cat that happens to have a white paint spilled down its back.
Yeah,
in a lot of cases,
that is true. So yeah, I can kind of understand why.
Yeah, I can kind of understand it too.
Yeah.
And admittedly, Pepe Le Pew is probably my least favorite Looney Tunes character.
That is true.
So I mean, for me, this isn't a big loss, but it's cancel culture coming in. So
yeah, that is true.
And that's not to say that both sides of the political debate can't be blamed for some form of cancel culture one way or another. We're just putting it out there that cancel culture did claim a victim in Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah. All right. So that also tying in with Disney Plus is putting warnings on select episodes of the Muppet Show. And apparently Dr. Seuss is getting censored. But
four of the Dr. Seuss,
six.
6 of the Dr. Seuss books were pulled at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
And they're just now getting around to reporting it. But it's some of the ones I don't think most people read.
Probably not.
It's not the big titles.
Yeah.
And it's some of his earliest stuff where he was still pulling off of his more political cartoonist roots, especially in his depictions from World War II.
That is true.
So admittedly, I understand it, but
yeah. And also the article says on Yahoo News that as an example of cancel culture run amok. And I agree with that. Also,
running amok. That's a great term to use when you're connected to a Looney Tune.
That is true. Also with
they tried it with somebody else. One Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah. Also, I want to get to that just in a minute, but I want to bring this up as well.
Okay, I'll edit that out because I thought I was heading in the right direction.
All right. So also in Space Jam news, apparently they've modified or changed Lola Bunny.
Yes. She was a bit more shall we say curvy?
Yeah, a little bit. They
made her more
less sexified.
Less curvy.
Yes, less curvy. The character was first premiered in 1996 film Space Jam, also starring Michael Jordan. There again, go watch his moments, amazing.
Sorry, go ahead.
The controversy about her being less sexified in the sequel, Space Jam: The New Legacy. So it's basically they've canceled the skunk and they've toned down Lola Rabbit.
In the case of Lola Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Lola Bunny?
Lola.
Yeah, Lola. In the case of Lola, I will say that her new look, as I use the quotation marks, is much more in line with her look in the Looney Tunes show that came out.
That makes sense.
In the early 2010s, I think.
Yeah.
So they're basing it more off that character design than the original character design, which was, go listen to our episode.
Exactly.
To find out what we thought of that.
All right. And so that information I'm getting is from Yahoo News and Insider.com. I think there's one more, but I want you to get into it.
Oh, yes. So after they canceled Pepe Le Pew, they reached a little too far. They tried to cancel Speedy Gonzalez. I say tried.
Yeah.
Because what they claimed was, and not just specifically Speedy, but the entire Speedy Gonzalez cartoons were supposedly promoting the stereotype of laziness among Mexicans. To which the Mexicans responded, "Don't you touch our mouse." In essence, essentially what it was is if you remember from those cartoons, there's a character by the name of Slowpoke Rodriguez who talks like this the whole time. And he likes hanging out with his friend Speedy, because he's supposed to be a foil for Speedy,
Mm-hmm.
and they claimed that was this horrible stereotype against Mexicans. Until you actually read what the Mexicans told this guy about how stupid them trying to cancel Speedy Gonzalez was, because they actually like the depictions.
All right.
So yeah.
All right. So to quote an article, this is from notthebee.com. So if you want to check this article out, you can. The New York colonists who came for Pepe Le Pew went after Speedy Gonzalez too, and failed epically when Latinos came out and forced to defend the fastest mouse of all Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah. So yeah, do not mess with the mouse, dude.
Yes. Trust me. He know everybody, sister.
Excellent. Okay, that's all I have in the news.
Yes. So let's jump in to our spoiler-free section on the movie Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy 15. Our third entry into and currently final entry into the Final Fantasy franchise of movies.
Maybe, because apparently there's a Final Fantasy animated movie.
There's an animated series.
I thought it was a movie.
There was Final Fantasy Unlimited, which was a 24-episode series that came out back in the early 2000s, late 90s, somewhere in there.
Okay, gotcha.
And then there's 15 has another little short anime series. I'm not going to say there's not another anime movie. It's just I'm not placing it.
Okay. Well, never mind then.
In terms of feature length,
yes,
and meant to try to get people who have never played Final Fantasy to jump into Final Fantasy, this is the third in the franchise and possibly final, but we'll see how it goes. This is a prequel movie to Final Fantasy 15, to the video game Final Fantasy 15. So if you haven't played Final Fantasy 15, no worries, you can jump into this. It follows a character that is original to the movie. He does not show up in the game.
Sad.
In fact, as far as I know, about maybe 6 or 7 characters who are in this show up in the movie or show up in the game. I could be wrong. I have not finished the game. But I did enjoy this movie. I saw it, the first time I saw it was about 4 years ago after it first came out, and I watched it with a bunch of friends over at their parents' house. In fact, one of them is James Hamrick of the Franchise Fatigue podcast, one of our sister podcasts. I hate using that term. Sibling podcasts? Fellow podcasts over on Pop Americana.
Yeah.
The new network we're in that hasn't fully completely launched yet, but I'm just going ahead and saying the name out loud on the show like it has.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. We'll get there eventually. But we are I enjoyed it watching then. I think I was the only one who was really geeking out because I'm going, oh my goodness, they actually put that in there? And they're going, I have no idea what you're talking about. I go, I don't care. Anyway. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I think of the 3, I think this is probably the easiest one to get into.
Probably.
Because you have, it's not as strange a story as Spirits Within, and it doesn't require any previous knowledge like Advent Children did. So yeah.
True.
Now, this is your first viewing.
Yes, it is my first viewing. And I would be frank to say it was slightly confusing at the beginning. I was like, okay, what is going on? This is making no sense to me. But as the movie progresses, be like, okay, things sort of make sense. And so I watched it, completed watching it, and then had to go back and rewatch it because it was okay, what did I miss? Because apparently I was missing something. I was like, okay, where did this character come from? And why is this happening? It's like, oh, that makes sense in the very beginning of the movie.
It doesn't help that a lot of these characters look unless they're like major characters, they look the same.
They do. Agreed.
So anything else?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good. I do have like extreme nitpicks about this film, but
we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie.
All righty. Well, I think that's going to finish us up for the spoiler-free section. So join us on the other side, and we will get to spoiling this trip in Insomnia.
Yeah. Can I fall asleep now?
All right.
I know.
Pause.
I know. Bad joke.
Well, I mean, it's not as stupid as the name of this episode. The name of this episode. The name of that. I hate the name of the city it takes place in, because you know how long it took me to realize it's called Insomnia because it's the city that never sleeps.
Yeah.
It's like, really? That's the pun you went with? It's still a weird name.
Agreed.
Anyhow. I just called it part 12, but oh well.
Part 12. Oh, okay.
I typed too fast.
So apparently we're doing like a live stream on that. Would be interesting to do.
Okay.
At some point.
Oh,
Okay.
you mean the commentary stuff?
No, not commentary. No. I'm talking about like doing a live stream for like several hours for a charity or something like that.
Long streams.
Yeah, one of those long streams.
Let's figure out how best to do that. I don't know how we do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got part 2 going. Boy, you loud.
Indeed.
Is that you right there?
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
All right. Are you ready to jump back into this?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Coming back in. The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy 15. Listener discretion is advised. Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy 15, was directed by Takeshi Nozue, who also directed Final Fantasy 7 Advent Children.
Good movie, by the way.
It was written by Kazushige Nojima, who was the writer for Advent Children and Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Final Fantasy VIII, and Final Fantasy X. It was also written by Sayori Itamuro, who, of course, is the main writer for the game Final Fantasy 15. Getting into the cast, we've got Aaron Paul playing Nix Ulrich, who is most famous for playing Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad. We've got Lena Headey playing Lunafreya Nox Florette, who is most famous for playing Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones. Then we got Sean Bean playing King Regis Lucis Calum. He's most well known for playing Boromir in Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Adrian Boucher played Titus Drautus and General Glauca. And in the movie The Monuments Men, he played the Sarge near Altwesi. I'm probably saying that wrong. Essentially a background character in that movie.
Yeah, that's a good movie, by the way.
It is a good movie.
If you haven't seen it, it's really good.
Liam Mulvey played Libertus Ostium. And in something called Lullabies for the Lost, he played a character named Jez. Alexa Khan played Crow Altius. And she played the character of Hyrax in Ice Age Continental Drift. Todd Habercorn plays Luce Lazarus, and he is most known for playing Natsu Dragneel in the English dub of Fairy Tale. John Demita played Chloris Amasitia, and he played the character of Kuroku in the English dub of Princess Mononoke. David Gant played Emperor Lidolus Aldercapt, and in the television show Sherlock, he played the character of Mr. Zecora. I had a feeling I was going to say that one wrong. Darren DePaul plays Counselor. Sorry, I said that wrong. Chancellor Arden Izunia, and he played J. Jonah Jameson in the PlayStation 4 version of Spider-Man. Trevor Duvall played Ravis Knox Florette, and he played Rocket Raccoon in Disney XD's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, interesting.
Neil Newbon played Petra Fortis, and he played Nikolai Genevieve in the Resident Evil 3 remake. Ben Diskin played Pelna Kara, and he played Boris J. Badenoff in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle 2019. I didn't even know there was an Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle in 2019.
Presuming it's a series?
It looked like it was a series of shorts.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did hear about that.
Yeah. Getting into our Kingdom Hearts connections. D. Bradley Baker was Ultros in Kingsglaive. That was the giant octopus monster. He played Waka in Kingdom Hearts. Ben Diskin played Pelna in here, and he was young Xehanort in Kingdom Hearts. Kirk Thornton played a newscaster in Kingsglaive, and he was Isa and Sakes in Kingdom Hearts. Doug Erholtz played the castle guard in Kingsglaive, while in Kingdom Hearts, he played none other than Squall Leon Hart, because he was always called Leon in Kingdom Hearts. There's a good reason for it, but we won't go there right now. Max Middleman played Tread Furia in Kingsglaive, and he was Luxu in Kingdom Hearts. Zachary Gordon played young Ravis in Kingsglaive, and he is Hainer in Kingdom Hearts. Keith Silverstein played a tavern owner in Kingsglaive, and he was additional voices in Kingdom Hearts. Ray Chase is the voice of Noctis Lucis Calum in Kingsglaive, and he voiced the Master in Kingdom Hearts. Patrick Seitz voiced Niflheim Soldier in Kingsglaive, and additional voices in Kingdom Hearts. Jameson Price played a Kingsglaive in Kingsglaive, and was additional voices in Kingdom Hearts. And Michelle Ruff played Selena in Kingsglaive, and was additional voices in Kingdom Hearts. And last, and most certainly, not least, possibly with one exception, I think the biggest Kingdom Hearts connection we've had so far. Yoko Shimomura wrote the main theme to Final Fantasy 15, which we hear in the movie during the reception for when we first meet the Emperor.
Okay.
She is the person who wrote or adapted, whichever the case may be for the song, all of the music in Kingdom Hearts. All 11 games.
Wow. She was busy for a couple of years, couple of decades.
And that's not the only thing she was composing during that time. Now, admittedly, some of them, because it's the same worlds, they reused music, but still, that's a lot of music.
So she's going off hopes and hearts.
Pretty much. And yeah, that brings me to the end of my Kingdom Hearts connections.
All right.
Info and stuff, if you please, sir.
All right. So you're able to watch this movie on Amazon Prime Video for $2.99 and YouTube and iTunes for $3.99. Now, if you want to go rent it for $60.99 somewhere else, these are your best bets. Or you can go buy it on Amazon Prime if you have it. Production was Visual Works.
That is the that is the internal studio at Square Enix that makes all of the cutscenes for Square Enix, or at least the Japanese arm of Square Enix.
Yes. We have Digic Pictures, Image Engine. It was distributed by Aniplex in Japan, Sony Pictures Home Entertainment, Stage 6 Films, Vertical Entertainment, and of course Square Enix.
Yes.
Its release date was July 9th, 2016 in Japan. It
wasn't that far after that. The week.
No, it wasn't. It was it was released stateside August 21st, 2016. Its opening week. Well, let's go to the Japanese. It's Japanese release, and then go into the American release.
Yes.
All right. So it debuted in Japan, the 10th place, selling 22,818 tickets, totaling sold of 35.6 million yen in 2 days. It total gross of 105 million yen. That would total for US would be $0.9 million. The movie grossed over total would be $4.6 million in Japan. And let's go to the US release.
Mm-hmm.
All right, its opening US release was $119.8 thousand on August 21st, 2016. Its US gross was $296.9 thousand, and its world gross was $1.7 million.
Not bad.
Not bad for a movie that's a direct tie-in to a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Home release. So when you push a button, it goes directly to the top.
Yeah.
Home video release was released. Kingsglaive was among the top 20 best-selling DVD Blu-rays released October 2016. To release, it grossed $1.4 million in US on Blu-ray and DVD releases. It came in, let's see, Kingsglaive was included in a Blu-ray of the Deluxe and Ultimate Collector's Edition, Final Fantasy 15, which were released worldwide November 29th.
Sorry.
Which was released worldwide November 29th, 2016. The movie also included Final Fantasy VII film collection, a box set which included Final Fantasy 15 and Brotherhood. The digital release of the film was released on streaming and digital download platforms on August 30th, 2016. A standalone DVD Blu-ray released on October 4th, 2016. And finally, the cream of the releases on Ultimate Ultra HD Blu-ray on March 30th, 2021.
March 30th?
March 30th, 2021.
So in 20 days.
Yeah, in 20 days.
It'll finally come out in 4K.
Yeah, finally.
Okay, then. That makes sense to me.
Well, with this film, yeah.
So it needs it. It will definitely make use of it because there is a lot of detail in this movie.
There's a lot.
Not that we're to our likes and dislikes yet. Anything else in info and stuff before I jump into the summary?
I think that is it. So fire away.
Alrighty. During a visit to Tenebrae, Regis and Noctis, who is recuperating? Start that over.
You need a cup of coffee.
During a visit to... That's the thing. I got Tenebrae right.
Yeah, Tenebrae.
But I can't say recuperating. During a visit... Gotta mark that again. During a visit to Tenebrae, Regis and Noctis, who is recuperating from a near-death experience, are targeted for assassination by Niflheim. Tenebrae is subsequently attacked, and in the invasion, Queen Silva is killed by Niflheim's General Glauca. Regis attempts to flee with Lunafreya, but she decides to stay with her brother Ravus. Both become subjects under Niflheim's rule. 12 years later, the Kingsglaive fight to protect Lucis's borders from attacks by Niflheim's Magitech army and demons, unnatural monsters tamed for military use. During one such operation, Nix Ulrich defies his orders to withdraw to rescue his friend Libertus from a demon. Regis, whose magic powers the wall and is growing weaker due to advancing age, accepts Imperial Chancellor Arden Izunia's offer of peace. This causes dissension among the Kingsglaive, who feel Regis is abandoning their families. 2 days before the treaty is to be signed, Kingsglaive member Crow is sent on a mission to escort Lunafreya to Altissa to meet Noctis, but is killed en route. Her death caused Libertas to leave the Kingsglaive and join a group of Lucian rebels. At a party dedicated to the signing of the treaty, attended by both Regis and Niflheim's emperor, Leotis Aldercapt, Lunafreya meets with Nyx before being secretly abducted by Glauca. Nyx discovers this and finds that Niflheim has stationed their army outside Insomnia. Insomnia is the main city.
Mm-hmm.
Regis agrees to deploy the Kingsglaive, although their commander, Drautus, has disappeared. While Nyx succeeds in rescuing Lunafreya, many of the Kingsglaive turn on him. Nyx, Lunafreya, and rebel leader Luce Lazarus escape as the ship disintegrates. At the treaty signing ceremony, the Niflheim delegation springs a surprise attack and kills the ruling council, while their army enters by destroying the wall with help from the rebels, who are subsequently massacred. Lunafreya and Nyx reach the citadel just as Regis is battling Glauca. During the fight, Glauca cuts the ring of the Lucy. It's the Lucy, not the Lucy. During the fight, Glauca cuts the ring of the Lucy from Regis's hand. Ravus attempts to put on the ring and claim its power, but it rejects him and destroys his arm before he can remove it. Nyx, Lunafreya, and Regis retrieve the ring and flee with Glauca in pursuit. Regis forces the two to go on without him, dying in the ensuing battle with Glauca. Aldercapt and Arden, having successfully stolen the crystal, leave Insomnia to be destroyed by Niflheim's demons. Summoned to the city plaza by a call from Drautus, Nyx and Lunafreya are cornered by Luce, who reveals himself to be Crow's killer. Luce almost kills Nyx before being tricked by Lunafreya into putting on the ring, resulting in his death. Drautus then appears, but is attacked by Libertas, who reveals that Drautus is in fact Glauca, just as Glauca is about to kill them. Nyx puts on the ring. He is confronted by the spirits of the past kings of Lucis. Initially rejected due to not being of their bloodline, his resolve and his threat to the crystal persuade them to allow him use of their power at the cost of his life. After fending off Glauca, Nyx returns the ring to Lunafreya before entrusting her to Libertas, telling them to flee. With the ring's borrowed power, he engages Glauca in a titanic battle throughout Insomnia, animating the city's statues of past rulers known as the Old Wall to combat Niflheim's demons. Their fight ends as dawn approaches, with Nyx mortally wounding Glauca. Nyx dies shortly after as payment for using the ring's power, wishing for Noctis to rule well in the future. In the aftermath, Libertas escorts Lunafreya out of the city, but she tells him to stay behind. That's not how that went. He told her he was staying behind, but that's beside the point. Lunafreya then leaves with the ring to find Noctis. In a post-credits scene, Noctis and his companions are en route to Altissa when their car breaks down, which leads to the opening scenes of the video game Final Fantasy XV. And I'd like to point out that particular scene in the car at the end probably takes place before any of the battle in Insomnia starts. Just for put that in perspective.
Okay.
So getting into the trivia for this one, the film features many things in previous Final Fantasy games, including Diamond Weapon, Gills, Behemoth from Final Fantasy VII, Cerberus from Final Fantasy VIII, Ultros in Final Fantasy VI, and the crystals, which appear in pretty much every Final Fantasy. Plus, they do mention the chocobos, but we still, after 3 movies, don't actually get to see chocobos on screen. I don't know why they don't want to show chocobos on screen in these movies. But yeah, that's the trivia we got for this one. So since I've been talking a bunch, Jacob, what is your first like of this movie?
Well, with every advancement in the Final Fantasy series, video game series, their cutscenes, animation, what have you, has grown tremendous. And with this film, it's no exception. It's just visually appealing and visually mind-blowing when it comes to design, when it comes to everything about this film. And that kind of ties in with my third, but I'll get there when I get there. Just visually, it's stunning. Be like you have like tremendous detail, vast depth, and just it's just beautiful to watch. It's beautiful. Be like granted, there's some errors there, but that's here or there when you're dealing with something like that.
Yeah.
But also the fact to be like they use motion capture.
Yes.
With this entire thing. And if you've ever watched anything motion capture, but like you're literally having to pretend something's there.
Yes.
Quite literally.
And what's even stranger with this, most of the motion capture was not done by the same people doing the voices.
No, there weren't.
In any country.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it'd also be like when you're talking about again with voiceovers, like you are literally like you're one person, woman or a guy, whatever, whoever that person is, be like you're sitting in a booth by yourself trying to interact with characters who are not there, and you're literally having to use your full-on imagination to do this stuff. But going back to my original point, visually this movie is stunning, just absolutely incredibly, from its fight choreography to like everything in this film is just beautifully visually. And yeah, it's my number one, the visuals.
I'm going to jump in on that because the animation was one of mine also. I think I had it a different number, but honestly, these can go in any order.
Yeah.
The animation, this is spectacular. It is the same animation style the game uses when it does its full motion videos. More on that in a minute. But I mean, the animation in this is spectacular. We get a bunch of great fight scenes in this movie. The energy effects, the shield effects.
Oh yeah,
the shield when the shield goes down, when the power when King Regis dies and the shield begins to fail.
Yeah, that
is, while honestly very horrific and terrifying when you know what it means, but it's also strangely beautiful.
Agreed.
As that shield falls. And that is how Final Fantasy shields usually work, is in that hexagonal, semi-broken looking glass texture. And they actually show that in here instead of just creating some other effect. It actually looks amazing for what it is. I mean, and I'll get to some more of these other things here in a second because I have some anyway. But it's a very beautifully animated movie, and there's only like maybe a couple of places where I think the motion capture spills into Uncanny Valley territory
a little bit.
But I mean, it's not horrific. It doesn't. And everyone's different, but it doesn't take me out of the movie. It's just I look and go, yeah, that mouth movement wasn't exactly correct. And his eyes are not quite pointing in the direction they need to be pointing in, but it's usually background characters, and I can usually let that slide. Most of the main characters that the animation was great on. So, yeah.
Excellent. All right. So my number 2 would be flawed heroes. Flawed heroes, flawed villains. You have our main protagonist of Nyx, which it took me the longest time to be like, wait a minute, his name is Nyx?
Yes, Nyx. Not Nick.
Yeah, Nyx. So the fact that like Nyx is a very flawed character, that he does have foibles, he does have his past regrets of not able to save his sister or save anybody, and so he has these almost PTSD moments of where he is he's struggling with this past. And there's like, he is the guy who is willing to jump in, and it's not about the hero worship, but rather it's more his willingness to do it, and it's nothing to do with being a hero. And the fact to be he falls for Niflheim's trick.
Yes.
which I think was great. Like when watching the film, I'm like, okay, this is a trick. Why in the Nyx? Why are you falling for this? Like, obviously, this is a trap.
Yes, but he still needed to save the princess.
I agree. It'd be like, saving the princess was the number one priority, but you knew you were falling into a trap. But it's in that same way, be like, it makes him a very flawed, very vulnerable character to where he does make mistakes. And his mistakes in some roundabout way causes the fall of insomnia in some roundabout ways. And I like that. I like the fact to be like, he's not a perfect character. Like in a lot of movies, you'll just have your character has very small flaws, but ultimately he's this big hero who can do nothing wrong. Nyx isn't that. Nyx is this flawed. He's a broken character who is willing to do what it takes in order to protect his kingdom. And like, even like you can go into like every character in this movie, there is flaws. You have the character in which he saves. I can't remember his name at the moment.
Libertus.
Yeah, Libertus. Like, well, Libertus is flawed. He makes the mistake of when his little sister is murdered. Like he abandons Kingsglaive and goes for the rebels, and then he's set up for all this stuff.
I'm not sure that they were related. I think they were just good friends.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Be like, it's like little sister. Be like, and referring to be like he called her his little sister.
Yeah.
That's what I'm referring to.
Plus, let's face it, Crow was one of my favorite characters in this movie, and she's not in it long. She was one of the best designed characters in the movie.
Agreed. So yeah, be like, you have flawed and broken characters. Be like in most Final Fantasy, be like, I think to there again, I'm not a gamer, so I haven't played the games, but I know the movies. So Final Fantasy Advent Children 7, Cloud is a very broken character, very broken, very flawed character. And so that's what I like. I mean,
you saw me play the remake,
all
of remake.
Exactly.
So that was flawed. He can be.
Yeah. Go check that on our Twitch channel. Yeah, like that.
Assuming it's still there.
Yeah, assuming it's still there. Some of it's still on YouTube, but
most of it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Either way, it's I love the idea of flawed characters, because you have so many characters that, like, they're flawed, but they're all just like extremely OP, and they just power through it, and they can beat everybody. Well, Nyx beats his adversary, but he ultimately winds up giving his life in order to save those he cares about.
Yeah,
and that's noteworthy. Really, that's noteworthy, because it's not the Goku who can beat everybody, and he gets resurrected every stinking 20 minutes. No,
I mean he dies, and as far as I know, he stays dead.
Yeah, which is sad. Let's just say that
it happens.
It happens. I agree. It's a very tribute. It's very noble to die for something like that. To die for something more than your own. But I will get into that in my dislikes about the film. But my second like is a handful, a deck of flawed characters. What is your number two?
Let me ask you a question. We've been podcasting together now for about a little over 2 years, right?
Yeah.
If you had to make a guess as to which two fights in this movie got me super, super excited, what would they be? I think you know.
I might. Well, let's see. There's technically...
I'm thinking two in particular.
Oh, okay. You're thinking two in particular.
There's a couple of these, but the two good ones... good ones.
I would say probably the last big fight between the Titans and the demons.
Yes.
That and Nyx. Well, let's face it, powered up Nyx and the big baddie.
Well, then that's good too. But I was mostly thinking, along with the one you mentioned, which is all the giant statues fighting the demon that is technically based on Diamond Weapon from Final Fantasy VII. But the other one is in the airships when Ultros gets released.
Yeah,
because let's face it, those are two very kaiju-rific fight scenes.
That they are.
Oh, that is some epicness. There's something about fighting something about 30 times your size.
Yeah, that's true.
That is kind of fun, and I've kind of always liked that about giant monsters. But those fight scenes are so much fun, and admittedly, I mean, once the giant statues get involved, it's not quite as interesting because we don't get to see as much of that because we are now focused. I mean, they're at that point performing crowd control on the giant monsters while we're focused on Nyx and Glauca.
Yeah,
Glauca's battle. But I mean, seeing all that stuff in there and seeing those characters realized in 4K was 10 times awesome for me.
Excellent.
So yeah, I enjoyed both of those, and I have to explain. While Final Fantasy games take place in separate universes, while Ultros is one of the few characters who is the exact same character every time he shows up, this is not that Ultros because Ultros was never this big. And I only call him Ultros because he looks like Ultros. They don't even actually call him Ultros in this movie. Anywhere in anything I saw, other than it's very obvious what he looks like. And of course, Diamond Weapon is not called Diamond Weapon. They only ever call it the Demon. But it's Diamond Weapon is what it looks like from Final Fantasy VII, it's a hard fight in that game. So I knew how much of a hard time they were going to have here. But the way they realized it, you have to remember, before this, the only time I'd ever gotten to really see Diamond Weapon was when he was made out of 50 polygons total. You know, very big, blocky. And it was well detailed. It looked good in that. But seeing him here in amazing detail, and especially his giant laser orbs, those looked amazing. I mean, the whole monster fight was amazing to watch. So yeah, my number 2 is the kaiju-rific fight scenes against Ultros and Diamond Weapon.
Okay.
What is your third like?
All right. So going back, you mentioned Final Fantasy VII of just pixel art. Pixel art done very well.
7 didn't have pixel art. 6 had pixel art.
Okay.
6 was the last one with pixel art.
Okay. Then what do you call 7?
7 is low res polygons.
Okay.
It's early 3D.
Okay. Early 3D work. And then you go that entire progression of how incredible detail, incredible like design wise, Square Enix went to, including going into this movie and its follow-up game is Square Enix's design of watching you play through Final Fantasy VII Remake and then watching this movie is just phenomenal. Like,
it's amazing how much their quality has gone up since that time.
Agreed. There's the
15 did take 10 years to make because they scrapped development halfway through and started over.
Really?
Yeah. Final Fantasy 15 was announced the same year. Well, let me back up. The same year that Final Fantasy 13 was announced, they also announced Final Fantasy 14, the next MMO, which ran into some issues. I'll get to that.
Okay.
And then they also announced Final Fantasy Versus 13, which was essentially, it was the other competing idea for 13 that didn't make it, but they spent some time developing it. Well, 5 years go on, 13 comes out. It was kind of a stinker. I mean, it's got its fans. I mean, my understanding is 13, 2, and Lightning Returns, the subsequent games in that, mini franchise were better, but 13 was, only considered okay. And I never finished the game because it was, like I said, okay.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14 came out using the same game engine that they used to do the back end of all stuff and everything. Ran into horrible issues to the point where they fired the director for Final Fantasy 14. They didn't fire him; he stepped down.
Yeah,
but he doesn't work for the company anymore. Ironically, the director of 15 doesn't work for the company anymore either. But besides the point. So 14, while supporting the client, the 1.0 client, they remade an entirely new client for 14, which is the client software we play off of now in that MMO, and got in the new director and writer, and they made it all work. And changed engines because 13's engine, Crystal Tools, which is what 14 was going to use and what Versus 13 was going to use, just wasn't that good an engine.
Okay.
If we're being honest.
Okay.
So in making 14, they made some modifications to the engine and pretty much just called it another name.
Yeah.
And then 15 used a further alteration of the Crystal Tools engine and made what they called the Illumination engine.
Yeah.
I believe is what it was called. And that's why I skipped something. Final Fantasy Versus 13 at the 5-year mark, when it was becoming painfully obvious that it couldn't make PlayStation 3, was renamed Final Fantasy 15 and then came out in 2016, 3 years after the PlayStation 4 came out. And it was announced before the PlayStation 3 came out.
Wow.
The game, the basic story of Final Fantasy Versus 13, or at least a lot of the setting, was scrapped. Was made for Final Fantasy Versus 13. They redid the story, but used all the world building they'd come up with, and that's what they based it off of.
Okay.
And then that game went for and they released a bunch of DLC for 15 that I haven't played. But that's when they went all in and made this movie, and then the Brotherhood 4-part anime, and a couple other things.
Okay.
Sorry, I just dumped a whole bunch of history on you.
It's all good.
But that's the history of this movie. It's part of a game that took 10 years to make because halfway through development, they scrapped it and started over. Because honestly, it was not working good. And they were going to have to start development over almost completely anyway because they were changing out the game engine and projected platform, and then it also came out on Xbox One the same time that it came out on PlayStation 4.
That is crazy. So basically, it started in before PlayStation 3 was launched, and it came out on PlayStation 4.
Yes.
Wow.
It went
an entire console generation.
It went into development as Final Fantasy 12, which came out on PlayStation 2. It came out. It went into development before it came out. It was announced about a year or two later when they announced 13 and 14 as Versus 13.
Yeah,
and then 5 years later, it changed. When it was very obvious that this engine was not quite working as well as they liked it to. They had to make major modifications and then put it out as 15. Because at that point, calling it Versus... And that's 13 had done so poorly, they pretty much decided, just give this a new number instead of trying to tie it in. Because we're changing so much, it barely even resembles anything they were doing with 13. Because that was the thing. And originally, there was still some connection with 13.
Yeah.
Just still entirely different worlds.
I got you.
They're using similar world building.
All right.
Because at the time when 13 was announced, they were doing what they called Fabula Novala Crystallis, which was this idea of creating a shared world building for the Final Fantasy franchise so they wouldn't have to remake it every time.
Okay.
That didn't last. 15 did not, only has some vague connections back to that. 16's not using it at all. Not that we can tell. I mean, there's still some terminology that sounds very similar to what they were doing in 13 and 15, but they're pretty much not using it.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right.
We were on likes, and I think we were finishing. Were you on your? Did you start your third yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So what is your
my third?
Your third.
After I've talked so much already.
Yes.
My third, like for this film, as I think of all, like I said earlier, of all the Final Fantasy movies, especially that we've seen so far.
Yes.
I feel this is the most accessible to newcomers. And that's intentional.
Okay.
If you didn't know that. After watching the movie over the weekend, I reinstalled Final Fantasy 15 on my PlayStation 4. And I've played a little bit of it. There is a scene near the beginning where Noctis tells what's his name? I just said his name a bunch of times. The guy who has actually Glauca.
The captain.
Yeah, the captain.
Yeah.
Of Kingsglaive.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even on screen for most part. He just Noctis says, "Take care of the old man." It's like, oh, you don't know who he is either, because he's about to betray you and everybody you love.
You vile betrayer.
Anyway, when you hit new game, because I started over, of course, it says, or actually, as in the game boots, it says a Final Fantasy for veterans and newcomers alike. That is what they were going for.
Okay.
Is something any person who coming to the franchise for the very first time could be able to get involved, start playing and enjoy, and not have to worry about any previous knowledge. Whether they actually pulled that off is another matter entirely, but that's what they were going for, and there's a lot here that you can tell went into that. And I appreciate, especially since because the original, like I said earlier, Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within is while it's set in our world, which is strange, it's a future dystopian world that has weird mythology built into it, and it kind of works, but it's also kind of strange. And some of the acting is a little, but we can still enjoy it for what it was.
Right.
Final Fantasy VII Advent Children is a sequel and follow-up to Final Fantasy VII, so much so that they went and on the Blu-ray and the DVD included all of the cutscenes from Final Fantasy VII so you would know what happened in the game. Final Fantasy 15 being set before. Notice I'm not calling it a prequel because it came out before the game did.
Yeah.
As it's a setup thing, as it comes up before, I mean, it's accessible. You can go in and watch it and not go play the game. Although I think to some degree it might make you want to go play the game, just to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun. While it is a tragic story because it has to tell the story of the fall of Insomnia. There's still a lot of little great moments and little fun little bits here and there, and a lot of cool fight scenes, and there's a little bit of Final Fantasy classic stuff thrown in there for veterans. But for the most part, if you don't know what it is, you don't have to worry about it because it's not important enough to know what that was. It's just more like a cool shout out, a little bit of fan service, more of this thing. So yeah, my number 3 for this is that it's the most successful Final Fantasy movie so far.
All right.
Which means we now need to jump into our dislikes.
Yes.
And would you mind if I started on this one?
Go for it.
At the very near the beginning of the movie and near the end, because I noticed it twice, there are a number of scenes in which the scene plays out, it fades to black, fades back in to the same setting, only a couple minutes later, goes for a little bit longer, and then cuts back all the way back out to black again. That is cutscene editing when you've got little moments of a gameplay interspersed, but there's no gameplay here because this is not a game.
No,
this is a movie, which tells me that these scenes weren't intended for the movie originally. They were intended to be placed in the game somewhere. And they might be in the game somewhere because I know they have gone in patches for 15. They have gone in and inserted scenes from the movie in order to explain the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Better in the game. Because that was one of the problems the game had when it first launches. It was just kind of throwing stuff at you and was kind of felt incomplete. But, I mean, it still worked. And those scenes annoy me as a movie fan. You get right down to it. As a person who watches movies, I can tell you the first time I watched it, missed it entirely. But at the same time, I wasn't reviewing the movie, so I didn't think too closely about it. This time I look at it and go, why did you do that? That only makes sense in a video game where you've got a little bit of loading time. And you can kind of use that loading time as a way to give that time passage. You have no loading screen here.
Mm-hmm.
That would be weird to put in a movie too. But it's just that part, those little bits of the scenes annoy me.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you on that. Like watching this film, it's like, okay, am I just watching cutscenes?
It kind of feels that way. And I know that's primarily what Visual Works has worked on. Because they've done, since Final Fantasy VII, they have done all of the full motion videos for every Final Fantasy game that's come out in that intervening time. All the full motion video in Kingdom Hearts, which is a lot, and many other things, including Final Fantasy VII Advent Children came in that grouping too. So I know there is cutscene editing isn't their thing, but Advent Children doesn't have a scene like this anywhere in it, even in the original version. So it's weird that it's here. And like I said, I think it was a scene. They were scenes that were intended to be in the game, but then were repurposed for the movie.
Yeah.
And almost at the last minute, because once you get past some of that opening scenes, it is nonstop till you get to the end.
That is true. That is
so you get to the scenes at the end that do this. The editing is spot on. But yeah. What's your first dislike?
My first dislike, I want more Nick's story.
Okay.
It's the fact that like he's, as far as I can tell, because there again, I'm not a gamer. I haven't played 15. So this is the only story we have of this character.
And as far as I know, you are correct there.
And that's sad because he's a cool character. And be like the way like this is not about me. This is not about being a hero, just doing it because I feel led to, and just his overall coolness of a character. I want more of his story, but yet we don't get any more of it.
No,
which is sad.
It'd be nice if we got some stuff leading up to it, since this is his final story.
Yeah.
You could say it's his final fantasy, but
yuck.
But I mean, unfortunately, we don't, because, and admittedly, I have not. I'm only back at the very beginning, and I don't know. Most of what I played before was before a lot of the fixes to 15, so I don't know if they bring him back up or not. But
that'd be interesting.
It'd be interesting, but I don't think they did, other than maybe a mention.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, just mine is give us more Nicks. If it's just plugging into the game or something like that, just let us know something more about this guy. Because all we know basically of him is that he's from a smaller settlement community outside of Insomnia, and apparently he's drafted into the Kingsglaive, or like,
well, I mean, they were all refugees that fled to Insomnia when the Empire was coming. It just so happened that he and the rest of the Kingsglaive are capable somehow of channeling the magic from the king.
Yeah, exactly. And be like, obviously we know because he wasn't able to save his sister, so obviously he had died, and he's still dealing with that. But and that's about it we know about him.
Mhm.
So like, come on, like give us like a manga or like some other material that gives us a little more information about this character, because he's a cool character.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, mine is be like, give us more Knicks, please.
All right.
What's your number one?
My
Number one dislike.
My number 2 dislike.
Yes.
Remember what I said earlier about this game took 10 years to make?
Mm-hmm.
This is also the first Final Fantasy game with product placement.
Yes, it is.
And it's weird. It's both weird in the game and it's weird in the movie.
Mm.
I mean, I don't think it was in the movie anywhere, but the game has a bit of product placement for American Express credit cards.
Yes, they do.
On the world of Eos, which is the name of the world this takes place in. That don't make much sense.
Yeah.
You get Beats by Dr. Dre being advertised in this movie. Audi designed all the cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to some degree, I can let Audi slide.
Yeah.
Because all that is
drift.
Yes. I can let that product placement go, because all that is a badge on the front of the car.
Mm-hmm.
I can live with that. I'm fine with that. The shot there where you see Beats, the big Beat symbol, stands out like a sore thumb.
Mm.
To me, it does. You can almost tell Visual Works is not used to product placement, because some of that, it looks like it's facing the camera instead of being along with the side of the billboard it's on, or the sign that it's on. It's not. It almost, the logo is almost angled too much towards the camera instead of the angle the sign's at.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's 2 other ones in here. I think one of them is of course, the cup noodles that also is in the game, which is hilarious. But there's a whole quest line around the cup noodles where you get cup noodle armor as a joke. Okay. Don't ask me. Okay. I have not played that. I've just seen the little screenshots.
Okay.
Although I do have the Assassin's Creed armor in the game right now for some reason.
That's weird.
Yes, it's very weird. But that's not in the movie. So yeah, I mean, on one hand, I understand.
Yeah.
And in most cases, I mean, we've talked about animated movies before that had product placement in it that I didn't mention a word of it.
Right.
But for the most part, those, while they were there, they were not intrusive. They were not in your face. And really, in some ways, it's not here, but there's some points where you're just looking at it and going, oh, look, Dr. Dre's been to Eos because he's selling his headphones here. Don't you want a pair of Beats headphones? Actually, technically now they're owned by Apple, but no, I don't remember when that sale happens. But I mean, and there's a couple other things. And it just, we're in that, the movie I'm thinking of is Your Name, where it is. There it works because it's not in your face. Here, it feels like, hey, we got to put this product placement here, and we're not going to try and be subtle about it at all. So yeah, the weird, the poorly done product placement is my number 2 dislike. What's your number 3 dislike?
Okay. Okay. So this was more of a pet peeve than anything. Why does Sean Bean's character have to die every movie?
Because he's Sean Bean, the living spoiler.
That is true. Okay, so I actually just looked it up. All right, so despite having a track record of playing characters who continually get killed off, Bean has failed to take the top 10. He's died on screen a total of 23 times.
Nice.
That is nuts. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? I'll be like, the only movie I have ever seen him where he does not die is National Treasure. And he gets arrested.
I forgot he's in that movie.
Yeah, he's one of the main baddies in the movie. Like, he just gets arrested. I'm like, because everyone says be like, oh, he dies in every movie. What's National Treasure? He doesn't die. But I'm like, okay, when I first watched the movie, I'm thinking, okay, the king, what is his name?
Regis.
Yeah, King Regis. I'm thinking like, okay, like whoever this guy is, he's really good. And you kept telling me it's like, well, Sean Bean's in it. It's like, this isn't Sean Bean. It doesn't sound like Sean Bean.
No, he actually has a decent voice. His voice is better than Aaron Paul's.
I thought I'd be like,
Aaron Paul did a good job.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
No,
But I mean, I had to go. I have to stop and think. Oh yeah, that's Sean Bean, and the only reason I know it's Sean Bean is because he dies.
so I just be like, that was like when I realized that, it's like, oh, come on. It's like, what is it? Is it contract now that's like my character has to die?
No, I just think it happens.
I think so, but at the same time, it's just like, man.
Well,
it's like, what is it? What is he like? He gets a script and he's like, okay, when does my character die?
Now, admittedly, I do wonder if he reads through the character list, finds the character who dies, and says, "This is the part I'm trying out for." That's just what it seems like to me.
Oh, okay.
Because, admittedly, King Regis did have to die in this movie because he's not alive in the game. So it makes sense that he had to die.
Yes.
But it is weird. It's like, oh, Sean Bean, yeah, we're going to kill him.
Yeah.
He does good death scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he didn't actually do much more than have to grunt for these death scenes.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Either way, that is my second dislike. What is your third dislike?
Yeah, we are on thirds.
Yes.
My third dislike. This is a game. Sorry, rephrase. This is a movie based on a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike Final Fantasy VII, where the original game didn't have voice acting because it was too early, and Spirits Within, which had entirely new story, so they had no one to pull from. This movie had the capability of using the cast they had already hired for Final Fantasy 15 to play the same roles in the movie that's supposed to be setting up the video game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, Aaron Paul playing Nyx, as far as I know, he's not in the game, so I understand why they went a little stunt casting and cast him. But Lena Headey does not play Luna Freya in the game.
Really?
Let me look that. I didn't think to look this part up real quick. Hang on. Don't need to look up the fishing mechanics. That was from the other night.
And pause.
Sorry, I had to mark that because I'm gonna edit this out.
Yeah. Well, man, for research.
Which I should have already done. Luna Freya. Yeah. Luna Freya is not played by Lena Headey in the game. It's played by Amy Shields.
Ooh.
Yes. In fact, as far as I can tell, there are only 5 characters in the movie who have roles in the game who are voiced by the same people in both.
Really?
Mm-hmm. 4 of them are in the after credit scene because they're all in that car because they're the main characters you play most of the game with.
Okay.
Prince Noctis, Prompto, Gladius, and Ignis are 4 of them. Can you guess who the 5th one is? He is in the movie. He has a very prominent role in the movie. And he does work for Niflheim. I will tell you that much. And he ain't the Emperor.
Oh, he's the what is it? The
Chancellor.
The Chancellor. Yeah.
The Chancellor is actually the main spoiler alert for anyone who's not played Final Fantasy 15. The Chancellor is the main villain of Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, okay.
He's the only other actor who plays his character in both.
It makes sense.
And he does a good job in both.
Agreed.
But here's the weird part about that. You're expected to play the game. I watch the movie before you play the game, right?
Yeah.
So I put in the game yesterday. I've already run into him. At a point in the story, as far as I can tell, the destruction of Insomnia hasn't occurred yet. And we're supposed to go, oh, that guy's probably innocent. He's just a weird guy who's giving us some directions and telling us that, the ships aren't in. We can't take them to go across the sea like we were planning on doing, to go meet up with Luna Freya. Because, of course, we don't know she's in Insomnia at the moment. And you're going, and you realize, no, wait a minute. He's Chancellor of Niflheim. Now, I know Noctis is a bit aloof, but he is still the prince. So I would like to think he might at least be able to recognize major political figures in the main adversary enemy of the country. I would like to think.
You would think.
But he doesn't recognize this guy in the game, and that is a little annoying. But that has nothing to do with the movie other than he's the only other actor besides the main 4 characters from the game who has the same voice actor. Which means, and even King Regis is played by Jim Peary when his in flashback scenes. He's not played by Sean Bean.
Really?
Really. All 3 of our main people, only 2 of them appear in the game. And you can tell in Kingsglaive they use stunt casting.
Yeah.
I find this annoying.
I can imagine.
It's a weird choice. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think they work, but we have 2 different interpretations of these characters. And I think part of this, you mentioned that you couldn't tell that was Sean Bean.
Yeah.
I think that's because he was mimicking Jim Peary. Jim Peary's performance to help it match. But I don't think Lena Headey did the same thing for Amy Shields. I don't think she did. But anyway, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. Your number 3 dislikes, sir.
My number 3. And there again, this is a nitpick. I am not a gamer. So watching this movie and knowing how it ends leaves you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And the only way that I can get a full experience of what continues after that is playing the game.
Yes.
There again, I'm not a gamer. I don't have the time to play that much game. I'm no gamer.
You wouldn't even want to put in a let's play to play in the background of this, probably while you work on other things, would you? Because I'm sure there's let's plays all over YouTube
or
this game.
Most thing I'll probably do is probably be like, oh, here's 3 hours, 5 hours of cutscenes into a movie. That'll work.
Then that would kind of work because they're not, as the way the game is set up, a lot of the story is told while you're driving places.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
Which is in game, which is not a cutscene.
Yeah, either way. So I find that slightly aggravating. And to say the least, be like, I understand, be like, this is a prequel to a game, which
it was intended to help sell the game.
Exactly. And there's a part of me, it's like, ooh, I really want to know, but it's just more like, I don't play video games. I don't have a PS4.
I will tell you this much from when I played the game the first time.
Okay.
I assume at some point there will be a conclusion because it's game. It has to finish at some point. But from where I got into the game at about 30 hours in, because I looked at my old save file to see how long I played before I stopped. And then the reason I stopped the first time was one of those where I played for a while. I needed to take a break. I came back a month later and I had no idea what I was doing, what I was supposed to be doing. So I just uninstalled the game at that point because I already knew there was problems with it because I had some things I didn't like about how it was done, and they were patching the game when I stopped. And at that point, it's like, well, I might as well start over, and I don't want to start over again. This is back in 2016. 2021, I have reinstalled the game and I am playing through it. I'm only a couple hours in. At hour 30, they had they actually have started. They've shown what the evil intentions of the Chancellor actually are, because he keeps showing up and getting you to summon these giant the giant summons. Because that's the thing about this game. The summons are huge. But they don't really. From where I was, I couldn't tell that the story was really going anywhere.
Okay.
Now, I will admit, the way the game was set up, a large portion of the early game, which is mostly what I played, is all open world. And supposedly where I was in the game is where the story starts kicking it up a notch.
Okay.
But like I said, I couldn't remember what I was doing. And so I forgot where I was going on and didn't know what was going on. So I had installed the game.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really even know how it ends myself. I just know there was a lot of driving around, hunting on the bachelor party from heck.
All right. So that is my number 3.
Yes.
So
that brings us to the end of our review.
Okay. So I did want to ask one question.
Okay.
All right. So it says in the very beginning, before like everything starts in the movie, that Prince Noctis was injured and he was still recovering.
Yeah, they do explain what that is in the game. I don't remember what it is.
Okay.
He got injured doing something and it was life-threatening, and because Tenebrae is where the healers are. If you couldn't tell the black mage, white mage mechanic that's there. And I didn't catch it until I was watching the movie for this review.
Right.
That there was that Insomnia were the kingdom of Insomnia were black mages, and the kingdom of Tenebrae were white mages.
Makes sense.
I see it now. I didn't see it when I was playing the game 5 years ago.
Okay.
But that's why he was going there, because he had his injuries were life-threatening, and they took him to Tenebrae, and while he was there, that's when
they got ambushed.
Okay. And that's when Lunafre and Noctis first met each other.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
apparently I'm going to watch cutscenes to figure it out.
I'm sorry, I can't tell you more than that. I can't.
No, I completely understand. It's just like, okay, I'm going to do a lot of reading to figure out, okay, how was Noctis injured?
From what I remember, it was not at the hands of anyone in Niflheim.
Okay.
It was a stupid childhood accident that I remember it being.
Okay. Well, either way.
It just happened to be, life-threatening.
Yeah.
I'm sure it had to do with training. Probably. Because he has to learn how to use the sword and the magic. Even though he doesn't have the ring yet where I'm at, he can still do some of the... Well, I'm assuming he's still channeling from his father where I'm at. Because I'm doing those warp strikes that you see them do all throughout the movie.
Okay.
You have to admit, that mechanic is cool.
Agreed.
Till it fails.
Yeah.
That was a funny scene when he throws the knife.
Oh yeah, that was like thunk.
It sticks, and he's not going anywhere. And she says, "I see you haven't moved. I see you didn't stay long," or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was a short trip.
Yeah, it was a short trip. Yeah, scoot over. I'm driving again. Anyway,
it's like you lost the powers of the king. It's like think?
No kidding. Yeah, I just realized that. Yeah, the magic died when the king died. Yeah, they've been saying that the whole movie. You just realized this, Nix? Anyway, we're at the end of this review.
Yes, we are.
Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15. I am giving this movie an 8.
Okay.
What as a setup for the game, I think it does a great job. I think it actually does a pretty good job of being a good standalone movie. Showing the downfall of this kingdom, and it gives just enough connective material to help bridge you into the game. And most of the nitpicks I have are nitpicks I have with the game, with the exception of the editing. As you can probably tell from what I said.
Agreed.
But I can as a Final Fantasy nerd, I can let a lot of this slide or drift, as you said earlier.
Mhm.
So, and plus, how many Final Fantasy games do you actually get to drive around in a car? Well, about 5, but still. Anyway, what's your rating on this?
My rating is a 7.5. It's an amazing film, cinematically, story-wise, amazing. I'm left with a lot of questions, and I'm not a gamer. So I'm more like, okay, I've got to read to figure out what's going on. This is unfair.
I'm sorry. It was the last movie, and I wanted to get it taken care of.
I agree with you. I completely agree. I mean, like, it's an amazing film. It's just more now I got to do a lot of reading to figure out what happened. Because be like that cutscene, it's like, okay, oh, here's the prince. It's like, oh, he's a shaggy-haired, black-haired dude.
Yes, and his car breaks down.
Yeah.
You actually start the game off by pushing the car. I am not kidding.
I heard about that. Yes.
The very beginning of the game, after a couple little flashbacks and a flash forward, technically, where they introduce all the characters, the game starts and it's playing. I can't remember the name of the song. It's an old song, but they got Florence and the Machine to cover it. Stand By Me.
Okay.
And the entire time they're pushing the car, and you're just holding down R2 to make sure Noctis keeps pushing, while all 4 of these guys complain about pushing the car. That is how the game starts.
Okay.
And there's a part of me that appreciates the game for doing that, because
I got you.
You don't know. I can't think of any other game that starts like this.
Alrighty.
That brings us to the end of this review. Next time, we are kind of staying in the fantasy realm, although heading into more of the fairy tale realm than fantasy.
With a little green added to it.
And I'll admit, this is not what I'm looking forward to.
What? You don't like ogres?
There are other things in this movie I don't like, but we'll get to that next week when we do our review for Shrek.
Yes.
The movie that put DreamWorks on the map.
Yes.
For better or worse. Anyway, we'll see y'all next time. This has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we will catch you in the next frame.
Donkey!
That's how you're going to end this? And I'm leaving that last part in.
Yes,
because that's funny.
Donkey!
No, donkey. And then me going, that's how you're going to end this?
Oh
I don't
my gosh.
hate Shrek, but it's not my favorite.
I understand. Save.
I'm saving.
You were at close and be like, do not close it.
Part 13. No, I should have called it part versus 13. Anyway, I just realized we're still live.
Yes, we are still live.
Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
If anyone is here, is there anyone here still on Twitch, or y'all on Facebook? Oh, I do have one still on Twitch. So I'm going to jump over to Twitch here, and I'm going to raid Retro Rewind for y'all, because they're cool people we like to hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, it's almost tradition at this point.
Yes, it is.
Except I would do that, but he's offline at the moment. So I guess I'm not doing that. Yeah, I'm seeing other things here. I'll have to look in. Shut up, Francisco. We'll have to figure out what's going on there. But thank you guys for joining us. We will see y'all next week as we review Shrek. Anyway.
So yeah, guys, you can catch us on your favorite podcast directory. You can catch us on Twitch. You can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on. I think that's it. So yeah, thank you so much. You can catch us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think that's it. Yeah. So so next time we will review Shrek.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any thoughts and comments about Shrek, leave them down in the comments down below on our Facebook page or Twitter or Instagram.
or Discord if you'd like to hang out there. We
Yeah,
have nobody
exactly.
in Discord.
Yeah, we
If you
still
want that, send me a message. I will send you the link.
Yeah.
We
So-
need to be promoting that more because that might be involved in another future project
Yeah,
we're working on.
we might have a little project, you know, kind of coming over the wings.
Yes.
Well, technically 2.
We'll talk about this after the stream. Anyway, talk to y'all later,
part
guys.
of that project.
Part of that project, yes.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. We will see y'all next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.